what we're going to be on today is we're starting a new unit. Okay, so we're on unit 4.1a. There is 2 parts, and we'll finish this up tomorrow. Okay, and what we're working on today is solve quadratic equations. Solve quadratic equations by factoring. Okay, solve quadratic equations by factoring. Now, does anyone happen to know what is a quadratic equation? No, it is not something with a 4. But we tried. Okay, a quadratic equation is anything in the form ax squared plus or minus bx plus or minus c. Okay, so a quadratic equation, you guys might remember doing the quadratic formula. Okay, we're not going to be doing that right now. Okay, but a quadratic equation is basically just anything with a square. Okay, so that's what a quadratic equation looks like. Okay, your first problem is going to ask you to solve. Okay, for number 1, ask you to solve x squared minus x minus 42 equals 0. X squared minus x minus 42 equals 0. There are a couple of steps that we need to follow when solving. Your step 1 is to set the equation equal to 0. Now, a lot of times your equation is already going to be equal to 0, like this first one. So you don't even have to do anything. You just skipped a step 2. Okay, so first we set equation equal to 0. Step 2 is to factor. Step 3 is to set factors equal to 0. The factors equal to 0. And the last step, step 4, is to solve. So for this equation, it is already equal to 0. So we are going to factor. Okay? Remember, there is an invisible coefficient or number in front of 1 there. Okay, so we're going to factor this. This is just trinomial factoring. And since it's negative at the end, you know you have to have 1 positive, 1 negative. Okay, x squared breaks down to x and x. Now, if you remember correctly, we need to figure out what multiplies to negative 42 adds to negative 1. So the factors of 42 would be 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14, 4 doesn't go into it, 5 doesn't go into it, and 6 and 7. Okay? Now remember, this last number here says subtract. So we're going to figure out the difference would be 41, 19, 11, or 1. Now, some of you might have factored this in your head, and that's fine. Okay, but this one, we're going to use 6 and 7 because I want to get to that middle number of negative 1. So remember, the bigger number, in this case 7, goes with in the parentheses with the middle sign. So the 7 goes in with the negative, 6 goes with the positive. Then I'm going to set the factors equal to 0. So I'm just going to split these up. I'm going to set each part equal to 0. So x plus 6 equals 0, and x minus 7 equals 0, and then solve. So to get x by itself, you'd subtract 6 from both sides. One of your answers is x equals negative 6. For the second equation, add 7 to both sides, and we'll get an answer of x equals 7. Okay? We've done this before. You have done this in Algebra 1. Whether or not you remember it is a different thing. But you have done this in Algebra 1. Okay, so we're just factoring, set the parts equal to 0. Okay, the next one, for number 2, if I ask you to find the roots of x squared minus 5x minus 36 equals 0. Find the roots of x squared minus 5x minus 36 equals 0. Now, you need to know that if a problem says solve, or if it asks you for roots, or zeros, or x-intercepts, okay, that is all the same thing. Okay, so asking you to solve, or find the roots, find the zeros, or finding x-intercepts. Did I see that? Sorry. Did Okay, solve roots. No, usually I use yellow and it doesn't really change things. Okay, so sorry, I'll rewrite that. Okay, so to solve, find the roots, zeros, or x-intercepts. That is all the same thing. Okay, we're going to use the same process. Okay, so here it's already set equal to 0. So your next step would be to factor. Okay, so negative at the end, so that means you have to have one of each. So one positive, one negative. Okay, x and x breakdown. Remember, we're trying to multiply to 36. So this could be 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12. What else? 4 and 9. Or we could have had 6 and 6. Sorry, I ran out of room. We're subtracting, so the subtraction, your difference could be 0, 35, 16, 9, or 5. Which ones do I want to use?
4 and 9.
4 and 9, right. Okay, should the 4 go in with the positive or the negative? The bigger number, so bigger number is 9 here, goes with the middle sign, so the 9 goes with the negative. 4 goes with the positive. Then split these up, set each part equal to 0, so x plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 9 equals 0. Subtract from both sides, so we got x equals negative 4. This side add to both sides, x equals 9. So if you need to show the work on how you solve, that's fine, but it's not absolutely necessary because really you're just flipping the sign. Okay, so I wouldn't expect that all of you are going to show perfect work on those. Say again. Okay, for number 3, for this one I'm asking you to find the zeros. Find the zeros of y equals x squared minus x minus 12. Find the zeros of y equals x squared minus x minus 12. Now, the reason these are called zeros is because whether or not you knew it, we are actually solving parabolas. Okay, parabolas are U-shapes. We will get into graphing them and finding other parts of them. But what we're finding today are where these parabolas would cross the y-intercept, or the the x-axis. Okay, so we're figuring out where they cross. Okay, they're U-shapes. Say again? It is not an ordered pair. No, it is not an ordered pair because they're crossing at 0. Right, it's at the point. Okay, so technically, yes, it is an ordered pair. Like this one would be negative 4, 0, or 9, 0, but I'm not asking you to find the ordered pair. Okay, I just want to find out what x value are they crossing the x-axis. So to find the zeros, the y equals does not matter. All you're going to do is just replace it with a 0. So just set the entire equation equal to 0. So x squared minus x minus 12 equals 0. Then factor. Okay, these are going to be one of each since it's negative at the end. One positive, one negative. What would multiply to negative 12 add to, remember there is a 1 as a coefficient there. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Find the difference. So I want to use the 3 and 4. Bigger number goes in the sign with, goes in the parentheses with the same sign as the middle. So the 4 is going to go with the negative. 3 goes with the positive. Set each part equal to 0 and solve. So one intercept is at negative 3, one is at positive 4. Now, you're not going to be asked to graph these, but basically what that means is this one would cross the y-axis where x is negative 3 and positive 4. Okay, so your parabola, in which we're not drawing just yet, would look something like that. Okay, parabolas are just U-shapes. They can go up or down, and we'll, in a couple of objectives, we'll get to how you tell the difference and a little more exact graphing. Okay. Okay, let's try another one. Again, I want you to, for number 4, we're going to follow the same process, but for this one, it's asking you to find the x-intercepts. Find the x-intercepts. Sorry. find the x-intercepts of y equals x squared plus 12x plus 36. Find the y-intercepts of y equals x squared plus 12x plus 36. Now this has another name, so remember, sometimes it'll ask you to solve, sometimes you're finding the roots, sometimes it's the zeros, and sometimes it's the x-intercepts. It is the same thing, it just has a couple of different names. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing. Set this equation equal to 0. Okay, once you get it set equal to 0, we can factor. This is plus at the end, so they're both the same as the middle, so both positive. X and x. What's going to multiply to 36 and add to 12? 6 and 6. Now, if you get the same equation 2 times, you only need to solve it once. Okay, so you'll get x equals negative 6. If you solved this, you would also get x equals negative 6. Okay, if I drew this, does it make sense, let's say this is negative 6, would a parabola, a U shape, cross twice at the same point? Does that make sense? It's not a straight line, but it just means that it just touches one point. So that's the tip of it. Okay, it just touches at one point. So does it make sense that I would write this twice? No, it only has one x-intercept. Only write it one time. Okay, do not write it twice. This is just a parabola where it just touches once, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Okay, you can get parabolas that will touch 2 times. You could get them to touch once. It is possible that they would never touch, they'd just be up in the air. Would it be possible to touch 3 times? No, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, it wouldn't make any sense for a U shape to cross this x-axis, the side to side, 3 times. Okay, so if you ever get 3 different answers, you've made a mistake. Okay, that just, it doesn't work. Okay, next one, for number 5. If I draw a rectangle, and I label my rectangle, I'm going to label the sides. This is x plus 3 and x plus 4. Okay, so a little bit different kind of problem. Okay, if I tell you that the area of this rectangle equals 42 inches squared, 42 square inches, and I want you to find the value of x. Find the value of x. You are given that one side is x plus 3 and one side is x plus 4. Okay, do you guys remember what is area equal to? Area equals length times width, right? So in this case, your area is 42. Do we know the length and width? Yes, x plus 3 and x plus 4. So x plus 3 times x plus 4. Now, can I solve yet?
No.
No, what do I have to first have this equal to?
0.
A 0, right. So, rewrite this. So 42 equals, you have to FOIL. So multiply first, outsides, insides, and last. So x times x gives you x squared. Multiply the outsides together. That leaves us with a plus 4x. Insides gives you plus 3x. And last is plus 12. We want to combine like terms. But I also want to get this equal to 0. So in the same step, how can I move the 42? Subtract the 42. So in the same step as combining like terms, or combining your x's, I'm also going to move this. So 0 equals x squared plus 7x, and 12 minus 42 is negative 30. So you can do 2 steps at the same time. That's fine. Okay, then once it's equal to 0, I will factor. So 0 equals, if you factor negative at the end, tells you have to have one positive, one negative, x and x. What would multiply to negative 30? Add to positive 7. Positive 10, negative 3. Set each part equal to 0. Set each part equal to 0. Okay. So you're going to get x equals negative 10, or x equals positive 3. Now, can I have 2 answers here?